All right, this Hangout error is on live. Okay, sounds good. So welcome. Today we are going to briefly talk about WordPress and specifically pages, posts, appearance, and plugins a bit, and then I want to move into mobile devices and how to set those up and what Jetpack kind of does and how it interacts between your website and your mobile device and all those kinds of things. So if you will navigate to your WordPress sites, when you sign into WordPress, this is what you should see. So here is your dashboard of what you should see. Now, in a normal situation, so WordPress is broken up into a couple of content areas. The main ones we'll focus on are going to be the posts and also the pages. And so let's jump into those a little bit. So as part of your classes, you will be using the posts often. So these are going to be your normal kind of blog posts is what they will be. So if I just go in here, you can select add new here. You can, when you're in the post, you can select add new here, or even at the top of your dashboard there are options to add new posts. So any of these will work, and I'm just going to select add new. And the first thing you get to do is add a title. So I'm going to do the stereotypical my first post. Lovely, looking beautiful. And this text box here is where you will do most of your content creation. And what I like to do is, this is a brand new WordPress site. So some of the settings I like, this toggle toolbar is something I will suggest because that will allow you to have access to some more settings. And then for those of you that are familiar with HTML, you can actually swap between HTML view and then the visual editor. So this box here will accept text. It will also accept media is what it will do. So you can upload, you can upload from URLs, you can upload files from your computer. So if I'm going to upload this sample logo that I have. I'm just going to insert it into the post. Boom. So content from my computer, easy to upload that way. If you're using something like a Chromebook, you may be inserting content from a URL directly, and you can just link directly to the image here, and it'll bring it into your site. So that's a couple of the contents that you can add here. In addition, you can also, I'm going to snag a YouTube link as well. So let's do something. We're going to do Boomer Sooner real quick. Get a nice safe URL link. So if you post in a YouTube video link of any kind, you'll notice that after I pasted that in to this field, WordPress recognized that it was a YouTube link, and it actually automatically pulled in the player and everything. So this is ready to go. So this is the visual view here, and you can see that your text, your images, and streamable content. So YouTube videos, Vimeo videos, SoundCloud audio, different kinds of things are embeddable here. And you can always toggle between the HTML view and see your original link and your original, this is that image there, and then that text. So you can kind of see it's a great way to start learning how HTML is translated into whatever your web pages are going to look like, whatever your blog posts are going to look like. So those are the three main contents that I will demonstrate for now. Before I post this beautiful blog post, though, the one thing I want to point out to you is that over here on the side, you have access to categories and tags. And categories, so in my default, there are no categories. I start with no categories. But I like to think of categories as things like, I like to think of them as folders that I kind of aggregate or store all of my blog posts in. So if I was working in a class, maybe those would be, so if I was blogging in Chem 1335, for instance, maybe that would be a category in and of itself. Or if I just wanted a broad category of assignments, you'll notice that you can associate posts with more than one category. So now any content I produce in the future that is an assignment, I can sort it into that category, which will be useful later, and I can show that in a little while. So categories are big, overarching kinds of sorting, whereas tags are much more specific. So these, I like to think, are the key words in the content that I'm producing. So for this post, for example, there's not very much content, but I would probably tag it as boomer and sooner and maybe logo, because I have a picture of the logo there. And what I've done is I've now made this content in my website much more, it'll respond to searches is what it will respond to. So for example, if someone comes to my website and they search boomer, this is a piece of content that will be the result of their search when they're searching through my website. So before you post, I really encourage that you do your due diligence in terms of tagging and sorting into categories, because you will be very thankful that you have done that. And not to mention that they may want you to have specific tags or categories for submitting assignments as well. And those are going to be the most important things, I would say. Once you have your post done, though, you just go ahead and you can hit the publish, or you can save the draft for later if you want to do that. But I'm just going to go over here and say publish, and boom. So I have some content up. Now we haven't looked at the website yet, but after you publish something, you can view your post here. Or this button up here is the master button that will toggle between editing mode of my website and live view of my website. So if I just click on that, I can swap over here, and we will look at this beautiful, probably very plain looking website, because it's going to have all of the defaults. And there we are. Look at that beautiful default, lovely thing. So here is that first post, and it's posted, and there's also a sample one as well. So that's great. That looks good for now. And I'm going to swap back to editing mode a second. So posts are going to be where you're going to spend probably a lot of your time, but let's also talk about pages a little bit. So I'm going to jump into pages. And again, you can add new page here, you can add new page here, or you can add new page at the top. Lots of ways to add new pages. So I'm just going to select add new, and you'll notice that these fields here are more or less identical. There's some extra settings or different settings here, but just be aware that if you can edit and compose a blog post, then you can do it with a page. But what is the difference between these? What is the difference between your posts, and what is the difference between your pages? So pages I like to think of as they are the web pages within your website is what they are. So they are ever present usually. So good examples of a page may be something like a CV, or a resume, or maybe an about me page, something that you want to showcase permanently or semi-permanently. So that would be content that I would suggest that fills your page, and it will respond to just like the blog post or the post pages will. The posts in WordPress will. Now, posts, on the other hand, just really briefly, are much more fluid because on a WordPress website, they arrange themselves in reverse chronological order. So as you post more, your content will it has some age to it. It'll age over time is what will happen. And a good metaphor, I guess, that I've heard before are posts are going to be the narrative of your website, and pages are going to be more of the summation, the summative elements of your website. So those are some good ways to think about that. Do you guys have any questions or anything? I'm going to publish this too while we're going.
No, I really liked what you said about the,
Okay. Well, we can keep going. And the other thing, I can check the chat box as well. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Image Finder plugin. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We can talk about that in a second when we get to plugins too. I will jump into that. Okay. So let me swap over to the website view a second again, and you'll notice that the page is nowhere to be found. And part of the reason is because this theme is not auto-generating a menu structure, which is fine. We can get into that in a second. But just be aware that that page does exist. It's just not visible right now. You can always view pages here if you want to make sure that they do exist. So there's my CV with my lovely video. All right. So let's talk about, let's move into themes a little bit because you have a lot of options in terms of a WordPress website. So let me jump into the appearance section here and into themes. So we've moved a little bit away from content for now, and we're going to move into the look and feel of your website. Now, these are the default themes here, and you can see that, all you have to do on them is just say activate, and in seconds, your entire website has changed its look and feel. So to be sure about that, I'm going to swap over to live view, and boom, in seconds, my entire website now looks different. And you'll notice this theme actually has auto-populated my pages too. So that's just going to be a feature of specific themes, but I'll probably change this around later anyways. But then my blog posts here are front and center, and then I can navigate to my generated CV page or my sample about page that was already there. So yes, and this definitely is one of the reasons that that I like WordPress, because you have the flexibility of keeping all of your content and just changing the look and feel in a matter of seconds. Most of you, though, I would assume, are not going to be satisfied with just these three themes, so let's look at what you have access to within WordPress. So I'm going to the add themes section here, and we will take a second to load. I'm doing lots of internet things simultaneously here, so it may take a second. Themes, you will notice that you can upload themes too, and that's just something to note, is that you can get like third-party themes and access to third-party themes if you find or buy some from elsewhere. These are going to be the ones that are kind of built in to the WordPress database though. So these you can just go, like maybe I like polar bears, that looks good. I'm going to install that, and now I have another theme that's accessible to me. So I now have the Inkness theme is available here. But so there's these 15 featured. There's also 2100 in this popular section, and you can go through. There's There's ones that are these nice kind of full image websites that I see being very popular with some tech websites and different things right now. There are things devoted to e-commerce. There are things that are devoted to writing. There are things that are devoted to photo blogs or food blogs, different kinds of things. So all of that to say, what I suggest, what I highly, highly suggest, is because themes are so malleable and so flexible and you can quickly swap between them, is that you should explore them and see what fits with you. Because in seconds you can have a blog or a website that looks something like this, although it'll probably, it won't bring in all those nice pictures of those polar bears. I'll have to fill those in myself. But this has a different view and a different structure. It looks like it's the blog post. I actually kind of like this because the blog posts are now in these digestible cards here. I'm gonna have to explore this theme. It looks pretty good. But as you can see, the content is all still there. All right. So that's themes. That's the biggest change you can make to your website. Each theme, though, you can customize further. And the customize options over here, when you go into the customize section, they will be specific to those themes. So some, like this theme, the polar bear one, I can set a background image, and I can pull from my library. I don't know that this will look good. Yeah, that's a little scary. But you can go in and you can upload some files if you want. So if what is this? Sample, just add an image, and it still doesn't look good. But you can go ahead and play with those options, add a nice polar bear or anything else that you want. You can mess around with the colors. I like green. Let's put some green in there for now. You can mess around with your site identity through here. So maybe this is, maybe if it's my website, I might have my name and say, it doesn't look like this theme displays the tagline, but you may have like students of, or education student, anything. Anyways, the point being, you have access to changing what your website here will look like further through the customization section. Let's move into some menus. Set a custom, maybe I want to set a custom home page to my CV to do all kinds of things. Okay, let's move into menus. So I'm going to save and publish that just to show. Now, menus you can access a few ways. Usually I am accessing them in the dashboard rather than the customize. They were available to me in customize, but usually I hit up the menus in appearance. Now, this is the menu structure here, and it doesn't look like I have an automatically generated, so I'm going to generate my main menu here. And it looks like with this theme, it only has one location, so I'm just going to say this is going to be my primary menu. And let's see. You can link to the content that you produce, so if you want to start building things in your web pages, so I may make the CV a sub-item of the about. I may add some notable blog posts in here. You can add custom links, so for example, if I was active on Twitter and I wanted to add a link to my Twitter page, I could add that as well to this menu. I can add my categories, so if I wanted to showcase, like if I was a student who wanted to showcase my assignments and projects that I'm looking at, I can do that. All kinds of things. I can do my university if you want, all kinds of things. And after I've made all these changes, I'm going to hit save, and let's take a look at what that menu structure looks like now. So on my website now, I'm starting to build this really rich kind of environment that is linking to maybe an about page, maybe the CV content. I can list all of my assignments, and as I fill in posts here, this will have everything together. I can go into these custom links to my university. I can go to 2 actual blog posts as well within the menu that I've designated. I can go to theoretically my Twitter page or anything and everything. Okay, let me hop back over to discussion. Second, okay, we're doing good. So really, those are probably going to be the main things that you'll look at. Are going to be for the look and feel. Those are going to be the themes, and then further customizing it. And then I would definitely invest in a menu, like develop your menu out, because that's going to be valuable to tie this website, your personal website, or your portfolio, or whatever it is that you're creating, to other content around the web. I'm not going to go into widgets or anything for now. Google is your friend, and if you want to go into how to create Twitter widgets or anything, there are tons of options, but I'm not going to go into that for now. The last thing I want to just talk about briefly, so we've done content, we've done posts and pages, actually generating content on this website. We've done look and feel, but I also want to talk about plugins, which I would categorize as the functionality, because one of the reasons that WordPress is very powerful is because you have access to things called plugins. And what they do is they add features to your website, and these range in all kinds of different features that you can add. You'll notice I have this little red 1 next to plugins, and that means that actually one of my plugins is going to need an update. So once this page loads, I can show you which of those will need an update. Make sure. Taking a second here. Again, we are streaming video. There we go. Okay, streaming video and doing all of this all simultaneously. All right, so these are plugins here, and a lot of these that are automatically installed are actually, I would say a lot of these are related to security, so it's adding security features. So for instance, the limit login attempts is a plugin that adds the functionality of limiting if someone tries to log into your website, like a hacker tries to log into your website, and they get your password wrong several times, it will lock them out, and they won't be able to log in again. So that is a feature that was added to your website using this plugin, and this one is on your site by default. There are ones that will deal with like spam and kind of like protecting you from spam. There are tons of different things here that you can add. But let's go into the add new plugins, because I have a big suggestion to make. You can add all kinds of features, but Jetpack is one that I highly recommend. There is a caveat to it though. Jetpack, which since we're running a little bit slow, I'm going to say install right now, just so it will take that time to do so. Anyways, Jetpack does require a WordPress.com like login and account. So WordPress.com is going to be separate from. It's the company that runs WordPress sites, and it's going to be separate from your current website that you have, at least at the moment. So WordPress.com and whatever your website is. Those are separate entities, but the Jetpack plugin actually allows you to connect them together. So what do I mean by that? I have this plugin installed, And you can activate it here, but I'm actually going to show you in my list of plugins, I can activate it here as well. So I'm going to say activate, and you'll notice it's saying, you know, Jetpack is almost ready. You have to connect to a WordPress.com account. So here is where you will go, and you can set one up, is what you can do. And I can connect as this account already, or if you want to create a new one, for instance. So let's do one real quick. Oh, excuse me, that was logging in. Let me do need an account. We're going to do an account real quick. And we're going to do ACTE admin. So this is what I would encourage you to do on your website at some point, and I will go more into depth about that in a second. So that is already available. Okay, well, let's do this then. We're just going to connect it to the regular. You'll get to see all dozen websites that are connected to my account, which will actually be a good use case. Let's see. So I am going to connect this to my WordPress account. We'll give it a second. So back out of that. Okay, so WordPress and your site and WordPress.com are now connected after you've signed in or created an account. And you can follow their prompt here. I'll say jumpstart for now. And what you've done with this plugin is you've actually added, I think they're up to like 28 features now that come just with this plugin by itself. And it's all kinds of things come with this. Probably the most interesting, I think, are going to be things like the site stats. So now they won't have generated yet because no one will have visited this website. But over time, you'll now have access to site stats, and you can track what is going on with your website, who's visiting from which countries, what content is being visited, those kinds of things. And yeah, it's probably not going to load. But you can go in here and you can look at all the different features, and they have there are descriptions with them too, if you want to go in and look at those. All right, so that's a little bit about Jetpack, site stats. If that doesn't sell you, then maybe look into the mobile theme, or some of the sharing content is actually really cool. You can configure, now that I have Jetpack installed in my settings, I have an entirely new sharing tab that will auto push out all my content via Twitter or Google Plus or any of those things. Cool. So let's see. All right. So this is probably a real quick kind of rundown in terms of WordPress on a normal desktop, or if you were working from a Chromebook or any other kind of laptop. Everything we've done to this point you can do from those devices. You just need a web browser to access everything you've done on your WordPress website. But let's swap over now to the iPad, because I want to show what all of this looks like from a mobile device. So give me a second, because I need to unscreen share, stop screen sharing, and then I'm going to re-screen share is what I'm going to do. Let me make sure my iPad is ready to go. Type in the password. We're going to share this now. Okay. So On whatever it is that you have, Android, iOS, anything, iPhone, iPad, Android tablet, you're going to want to download the WordPress app is what you're going to want to do. So I'm going to jump into it is what I'm going to do. So I've already downloaded this. It's going to ask me if I want push notifications. I guess I'll accept those for now. Okay, here is where this is going to be different for some people. If you, for OU Create specifically, what you'll want to do is down at the bottom where it says Add Self-Hosted Site. That is what you're going to want to do. So down here, when I click Add Self-Hosted Site, you'll notice that I now have 3 different entry fields here. So the new one is the site address. And for me, that was sample.keeganslw.net. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to type in my URL here, and then I'm going to go into the username and password I used. Let's see, what did I do? I think I did CTE. Hopefully that was that password. Whoops. Already forgotten. Give me a second. Should have written it down. Let's edit my password a second. We're going to say oh, I think I remember it actually. Now I'm typing it in. 2363 CTE. Go, go, go. Or maybe not. I thought that was it. Okay, we're going to update the password a second, and then I'm going to log in. So make sure you know the password to your website. It makes it easier to do these things. 2363 CTE. Add site. Okay, good. So this is the iPad view of my website. So you'll notice it looks a lot different than the dashboard that we've been looking at, but that's okay. I can go in here, and I have these little tabs at the bottom. The middle one will jump me into editing posts like immediately. So it's very good for getting into quick things. And then you have your notifications over here, and then stuff about your account. But let me go all the way to the left icon. That little WordPress will allow me to select what site I'm on. And from these options here that you have, there's like you can do the view site is what you can do. And you'll notice that's all of those changes there, and I can look through if I want to go in and view my first post, or maybe hit the About section. I mean, I can go through and I can look at this just on my mobile device pretty easily. Now, the WordPress, the WP admin there, all that's going to do is that's going to take you into your web browser and prompt you to sign into your WordPress site. So this, if you sign in here, this is going to be the same dashboard that we were looking at is what it's going to be. And you'll notice it said 2 attempts remaining because I was getting my password wrong. Now, blog posts, I can come in here and I can see, like, this is all the content that I've already produced. You can kind of see the differences here. So if I'm going to say edit on my first post a second. And you'll notice that it looks a little different because the mobile side of this does not automatically pull in the YouTube videos. So that's something to note. Even though I have the YouTube link there, it's not going to show that in the mobile view. So that's just going to be one of the differences. It will on the website. So if in the top right-hand corner, there's a little eye next to this update and gear. If I hit that little eye, well, it doesn't show me there. I thought it would show me there. But on the website itself, it will retain that video and stuff. So that will be there. So we've seen it before, so you'll have to trust me on that for now. So you have access to editing your posts. You have access to your pages. I have my CV page that was generated too. It looks very similar. Can quickly look at your comments. You have a few access to settings here, but not a whole lot, honestly, not in comparison. So why did we install Jetpack? Part of the reason is because you have no access to your stats unless you log into Jetpack. That's one of the reasons. So let me see. So, and the other part of it too is you don't have access to connecting, like the Jetpack plugin will allow you to connect when you're starting to make more than one site. It will allow you to manage those all together, is what it will allow you to do. So let me see. I guess the main thing, so this is where you'll sign into Jetpack. Just be aware. When you click on stats, it'll prompt you. As soon as you start using features that require Jetpack in the app, it will prompt you for that sign-in. So I would encourage you to do so. Now, why do we care about this? Why are we going through mobile devices and all of those things? And really it comes down to the fact that no matter where I am, on my phone or on my tablet, in an instant I can say, I'm going to add new post is what I'm going to do, and I can start a draft. So maybe I have an idea about, so I have a reflecting on, I don't know, let's do capstone. And then I want to, like today, we went into content. You know, I can add things really quickly. I also have access to adding photos. So if I want to, I can take photos is what I can do too. So lovely, lovely. Use photo. So I can integrate some of these directly into my site very quickly. So you can see that's uploading. That'll be in the site. So all of this content you can do on the go. So for students, it's awesome because, say, if you were doing study abroad or anything outside of the classroom, I mean, your mobile device has the built-in camera ready. You have access to typing all of this out and doing all of these things very seamlessly from your mobile device is what you do. And it says updating here because it's actually updating the post now that I've added this picture. So it may take a second to do that, but I'm going to say, yeah, it's going to take a second. Let's make, I'm going to edit this image a second. We're going to make it smaller. Actually, we'll do medium. Okay. Or actually, since this is taking a while, we'll just delete it, just like I would with words. And figured that would do its thing. We're taking a second though. I'm going to check the chat while this is going, see if there are questions and things. Okay. All right, so, man, that's taking a while. Again, I am streaming and doing several things with several devices all at once, so bandwidth and internet have definitely been a little bit more limited today. But yeah, that's kind of how all of that works. I kind of hope you see the big picture of how you would utilize these things together. Because I'm going to drop away from the iPad for a second. Because I mean, it's not about like making students or yourself use an iPad or anything to work. It's that you don't always have access to your computer. I mean, sometimes you're walking from place to place and you have an idea and you want to document it. Maybe it's the start of a post, so you look at at writing it out, starting it on a mobile device, or finishing it on a mobile device, you're more than welcome to do that. So I would like to just promote being productive during those downtimes where you are thinking and using it, because you have extra affordances with mobility and cameras and everything else that's built into these. So that is my pitch for being productive, being a producer on your mobile device rather than a consumer on a mobile device. So any questions, anything about what we've been doing? Okay. Oh. Okay, so question on subdomains versus directories. Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. So say I've created this beautiful website for myself. Okay, I have a portfolio, but as part of my capstone or as a part of my course, maybe I want to not just make, say, a PowerPoint, but I actually want to make like a website as part of a project. How do I create another website within the OU Create system? Okay, so let's talk about that. So I'm going to swap back over to screen share a second, and I'm toggling over to the dashboard of OU Create as well while I'm doing this. Where is that? There it is. Okay. So this is when you log into OU Create. This is the dashboard that you will normally get to, and so where do you start when you want to make another site? Where you want to go is you actually want to go to subdomains. Here is what you want to do, and you want to create a new subdomain. Probably is what you want to look at. So maybe I'll have. Let's do one that I for sure don't have, capstone. These are exclusive, so you can't have repeats. So I'm just going to create a subdomain so we have something to look at here. And then I'll talk about directories in a second too. So this will take a second because I'm making a change to my account on the server. So it'll take a second. There we go. So I have a new subdomain here. That's awesome. Now, that's the first step. Because the second step, so I want to install WordPress again. This is going to be another WordPress site. So I'm going to just go through the install process. And the first option I have is I need to select the location for this. And the domain, so I have a lot of them here. I probably should clean this out. So I can select the one I just created, that Ed Capstone one, and this will be a separate URL from my just keeganslw.net domain, or the sample one that I was working on earlier. Now the domain part here, you can actually see corresponds down here, and then the directory is going to correspond to this. So normally when I make a new site, I don't have a directory. Because I just want this to be the URL to my website that I give people. Now, but you can add anything else that you want. So sometimes if you want a website, like if I made this project website, but then I wanted to make another website that was like a forum to the original website, then that is when you would probably use a directory. So for the most part, I think you would stick to a subdomain is what you would do. But then if you wanted to create another website kind of within that was related to that subdomain is when you would probably use a directory. At least that's what my suggestion. But I do know some people that like to have like blog at the end of theirs or things like that. So it kind of depends. But I think this is a good visual representation of what those are and what those do. And then, of course, you can read. We have some documentation and things on the OU Create support web pages that goes into those differences a bit more as well. So, yeah. So I hope that kind of answers that question a little bit, and kind of like what the use cases are, when I would set them up, and how I would kind of kind of do that. So kind of from start to finish that workflow. Any other questions or anything? All right. Well, oh, not from Stacy. Okay. Cool. Cool. Awesome. Well, I think I covered everything. So I hope this has been informative, and I am going to close off the broadcast, and then we can have some after discussion if we need to as well. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and let me know if you have any questions. Reach out or whatever you need. We've got it. So, thank you very much.